Welcome to the Coffee Cafe, where we don't serve coffee, we serve the horrors of the educational system. I'm Z.
And I'm Lisa.
And welcome to School Mysteries, a series where we take a look at 7 urban mysteries, straight from your own classroom.
The 7 school mysteries, or in Japanese, Gakkou-no-Nanafushigi, is quite prevalent all over Japan. These are haunting stories that are spread around school, passed down from generation to generation. Whether they're made to scare or make you beware is still up for debate.
This week, we bring you 7 school mysteries. The red cherry blossoms.
Their blossoms are to die for. Rumor has it that one of the cherry blossoms on campus holds a secret buried deep beneath the surface. In order to get to the root of things, you'd need to watch the petals blossom into a vibrant crimson color, deeper than any cherry blossom you've ever seen. Why is that, you ask? Well, they say there may be a body buried underneath the tree, and that it gets its sole sustenance from the poor victim's blood. But do you have the guts to unearth the truth? So you should probably stay clear of these trees, because their blossoms are to die for. Do you know the origin of this story is from a short story called Beneath the Cherry Blossom Tree from a man named Kaji Motojiro, and I find it really funny that this is the urban legend given the story itself starts with, there are dead bodies buried under the cherry tree.
I mean, that's very straight to the point.
Yeah. Another interesting thing is that supposedly this thing actually happened.
What happened?
Supposedly in this one village, town, prefecture, I'm not sure because I can't find its source. It wasn't so much that the cherry blossoms were getting dyed red, but they were discolored in such a way that people know that this particular cherry blossom tree is not supposed to bloom in that specific pink.
Oh, that's interesting, actually. That's interesting.
They had to dig up the tree. I don't know if they did. Again, I don't know the origin of the story, but when they dug it up or tried to look at the roots or dig up the area around it, they found a skeleton.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
This is an actual thing. This isn't a story.
I am not sure. This is one of those stories where, I hear the reason why this story is true is because it actually happened, but I can't find the origin. It's just interesting that the one tree that you typically don't associate with horror has its own little scary story.
Indeed. The walking statue.
Don't look at the statue. I mean, sure, it looks like a regular statue of Ninomiya Kinjiro, one of Japan's most famous scholars, but his statue is said to come to life at night, monitoring the outskirts of the school while reading a book. Don't try to look at what he's reading. If he ever notices you, he might pull a prank on you. Some say it could be harmless, like tripping you over. Others could have sworn that he's armed with a katana. Don't try to look for the katana. They say that even just staring at the logs on his back could trigger him. So whatever you do, don't look at the statue.
Ninomiya Kinjiro was a real figure, an agricultural leader, philosopher, moralist, economist. This young man, he struggled a lot in his life, and through studies and hard work, he made it pretty successfully. It's one of those stories that you pass down. It's like, oh look, he studied so hard. And one of the things, the reason why he carries that basket full of logs is that he would study any chance he got, regardless of whether he was doing work or a chore.
Because legend goes that while he was still working, he couldn't afford actual proper education, he studied regardless. What fascinates me is the fact that it evolved into a malicious kind of spirit.
Yeah, I don't know where he got the katana from, and I find it interesting that even looking at him, it could set off malicious intent.
As far as I know, it should be an axe.
That's horrifying.
Though what is kind of funny is that students have apparently been walking around looking down at their phones, and teachers are attributing that to the statue because Kenjiro is seen always walking around looking down at a book. But it's become a little dangerous now that kids are bumping into things too much.
Even if you were to read on your phone, you'd still be bumping into things.
Yeah, they've been removing the statues and replacing them with a version of Kenjiro sitting down reading.
Lay down, sit down.
Do not look at the screen while walking.
Before we continue, have you heard? They say that leaving a like and a comment on this video protects you from these mysteries with a 69% success rate. For real though, if you like what you see, subscribe for more spoops, tunes, and memes.
The 13th step.
Watch your step now. Weren't there 12 steps going upstairs? There are 13 right now. At least, that's what it looks like. I heard that something like this happens at 4 p.m. Or was it 6 p.m? Either way, there's no real telling on what'll happen if we climb up these stairs right now. Some say we might get cursed. What kind? I'm not sure. I mean, who knows? You could fail your classes, you could get expelled, or worse. What's worse than that? Well, I'm not sure if anyone has ever come back to tell the tale. Well, take care of where you're heading. You better watch your step now. This is a story that sort of makes sense. 13 is a fairly unlucky number, but what's weird is that it always assumes that there are 12 steps.
That's a good point. Like, you never actually think to count the steps, huh?
Yeah. There was one story of someone who shared their personal experience when they went to school and heard about it, and they decided, oh, I'm going to walk those steps and see how many there are, and there were 15.
I mean, I guess. Are you sure there were 15, or maybe you've been isekai?
Yeah, by that point, you're already gone. Although, there is a variation of it that no matter how many steps there are, even if it's past 12 or 13, you have to skip. But then, that makes it a little odd, because I think you're supposed to skip over the 13th step at a specific time of the day, I think.
Okay, now that I'm guessing 444.
Yeah, because like if you did that every single time, that would be a very clean 13th step. I'm fascinated by the idea that it's the 13th step rather than the 4th, because the 4th would come up more often.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah, supposedly one theory is having to do with the gallows, where death row inmates on their way down would have to go through 13 steps. But the other thing about that theory is that they say it comes from the West, so they don't know how it made it to Japan in that case.
The school at 444.
Your time is almost up. Do you ever hang around school after class ends? Have you ever noticed anything strange? Why? Well, they say if you stay at school until 4:44 p.m., strange things start to occur. Some say that the mirrors all around turn into gateways leading to another world. Others say that there are things that lurk in the school that will drag you there if they find you. Either way, you'll get isekai'd if you find yourself at the wrong place at this exact time. They say it doesn't even have to be at exactly 4:44 p.m. Have you ever noticed that the clock reflected on the mirror looks oddly familiar at 7:16? Even so, you should probably head home now. Your time is almost up.
I should be surprised, but at the same time, I kind of do like the idea that there is a specific mystery revolving around 444, because a lot of mysteries that we've been looking into does happen at 444. Regardless of what happens at that time, something bad will happen. That's the general gist of this specific mystery.
You're kind of just screwed no matter what you do if you're in the school at 4:44. Sometimes you'll hear a piano.
Sometimes Beethoven will just come out of a paper. Spoilers. But yeah, like, it's a very specific time.
It's also unfortunate to think that you think you're safe because you don't want to stay in school that late, like after classes. You just want to go home. Maybe you want to hang out with people. And like 4:44 p.m. makes sense. It's after school. No one would really be in school at 4 in the morning. But the 7:16 doesn't say a.m. or p.m.
Imagine staff and
Do you guys ever think about the staff in these 7 school mysteries?
as far as I know, there are certain stories that we've found from the perspective of teachers.
Yes, there are.
It kind of actually pains the question. With all these being passed down a lot, are these just scary stories?
Or is there some sort of truth?
Yeah. The haunted broadcast.
You better plug your ears. Did something sound off with the last broadcast? Didn't the announcement sound a little too staticky? And isn't that the AV club outside who's supposed to be doing the broadcast? I wonder if it's him. What do you mean, who's him? Well, rumor has it that a couple years back, a member of the AV club went missing in school. No body was ever found, but they say that when the other club members start to goof off, he does their job for them. However, if you go inside the AV room while it happens, some say you'll find nothing. Others say you'll find pure madness. Best not to look into it, and you better plug your ears.
It's kind of funny how it's always implied that the ghost only appears when students are goofing off.
Yeah.
It's just like, you guys had one job. one job.
Fine, I'll do it myself.
No, but this story in particular is very common, but
Really?
in different versions.
Really?
During the research that we've been doing, I've found one for the art room, one for the petting zoo club. There's a story later on in the series where there's a ghost in the cooking room. It's very interesting that after-school activities are also kind of tied to this.
Yeah, or in general, how a lot of after-school activities are haunted-ified. What if you only realize that you're goofing off because you hear the announcement, no one's doing their work, and you're like, oh man, it was my turn.
Yeah. Actually, it's also interesting there's no consequence to that.
There isn't. The most consequence there would be is
If you find them, you'd go mad.
yeah, like if you go in as the broadcast is happening and like no one else is there. But like if you don't, or if like the AV club just goofs off and they're like, oh,
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, there's no consequence to the AV club. There's a consequence if you disturb the guy, but there's no consequence in the goofing off AV club.
I mean, I kind of get it. If someone were to like bother me while I'm doing like my own freaky announcement, I'd be like, man, leave me alone.
Not right now. This is my time to shine.
To shine.
Speaking of my time to shine, this is my favorite one so far, okay? The blue hand.
Going to this toilet should be your number 2 priority. You know those futuristic toilets with the built-in digital bidet and heater? Well, they say that our school has something similar, but of the paranormal variety. They say that a certain stall at a certain toilet on a certain floor in the school, honestly, no one's been brave enough to say which one, has one. They say if you take too long, you may feel a stroke of concern from a certain someone. What do you mean? Well, allegedly, a blue hand will come out of the toilet to touch your butt. Wiping it is still up for debate though. Either way, going to this toilet should be your number 2 priority.
Still my favorite one.
It's a good one.
And I like how out of all the places we've checked, no one has actually mentioned which stall or which floor. Not even the 4th stall and the 4th floor, which is very common in toilet-related mysteries. Like,
We initially thought that this was the Akamanto until we realized he didn't have paper.
he didn't have toilet paper. We almost disregarded this because, like, I don't know, it's a weird take to the Akamanto, but the ghost doesn't have toilet paper, and the ghost comes from specifically the toilet bowl.
Yeah, I also like the idea that the reason why there isn't a lot of information on it is because no one's been brave enough to check it out.
I mean, would you actively try to look for this ghost?
I mean, he doesn't seem malicious. It's kind of, what if wiping is still up for debate? Indeed.
If he's a bro, he'd wipe.
Why would he
Homies wipe each other's.
I'm not gonna let you continue that sentence.
No, but tell us, guys, would you wipe your homies? No, but seriously though, would you look for this ghost in your school if you knew somewhere it was real?
As a sort of sacrifice where if you know where it was, you could tell everyone to just avoid that one stall.
Or go there if they're into that.
That is the least, that is the no, that is the most.
Not to say that everything goes downhill from here, but definitely this is the epitome. The Teke Teke.
She's already behind you. You know that nearby train station we take to school every day? They say a tragedy occurred there where a student from our school got caught on the train tracks during a long winter night. She was run over by a speeding train, splitting her in half, but the freezing rail tracks sadistically prolonged her agony until she was found the next morning. Why she was there is still up for debate, but one thing's for certain, she's out for revenge. Once the sun is set and you're all alone, if you hear the sound Teke Teke, you'll know she's near. And even if you hear it from far away, there's no point in running. She's already behind you.
I didn't know that this is a school mystery. I mean, it should have been obvious that it was, but I honestly thought this was just a yokai.
Right? I thought that her ghost would just stay around the train tracks, but I'm surprised that her ghost decided to go to school anyway.
No. In the actual legend, she's not isolated in the train tracks. She goes around, like, the town.
Right! Right.
Or the city, even.
She goes around. That does make sense because people are very specific that she could run 100 kilometers an hour. So she can take a night out in the town very quickly.
Apparently, taking a car isn't even enough to like get away from her. So it would make sense that she's away from the train tracks at that point, looking for her legs. It's interesting that she bled into this side of Japanese urban legend. But if you really know her origins, she's not in the areas of schools. She's specifically seen in busy streets, right?
It would depend, because technically, as a school mystery, she would just be told in schools.
But during our research, a lot of people actually mentioned the Teke Teke during our run-through through many forums in the Japanese side of the internet.
Yes, very specifically because they would encounter her in the hallways.
So unlike the Kuchisake Onna, where the danger lies outside of the campus, this one's actually a lot freakier because you're not safe anywhere.
That's an interesting aspect of it, because a lot of these school mysteries, they're very kept within a certain time/vicinity, but the Teke Teke just does not care. Apparently, there are ways, technically, to get away from her.
Really?
Yeah, so much like the Kuchisake Onna, where there are loads of ways from throwing candy to screaming like hair wax. There's one person that says, "Oh, you just have to yell out, 'Go back to hell,' and then she'll leave." But like, I don't know if anyone wants to try doing that.
Right, from one of the forums, it's just like, go back to hell.
You just start insulting her, just like, get back. Like, okay, sure.
I kind of feel bad for her now. It's just like, imagine if she's just minding her own business and like she has nothing to do with you at this point, and then she just hears, "Go back to hell." It's like,
Aw.
oh,
Hey, I mean, I can't, because I technically didn't die.
yeah.
Anyway, there's another 7 mysteries straight from the halls of the schools of Japan. Thanks as always to our members Better, Shifter, and That Gamer Boy, as well as our cafe producer Nick. And if you too want to support the content we make here, consider joining our memberships. For now, if you want more mysteries, check out these 7 right here.